What if I told you that the world's very first skyscrapers weren't built in New York or Dubai, but in the middle of Yemen's desert? A city made of mud and straw that has stood tall for centuries. They call it the Manhattan of the desert, and right now, it's on the edge of disappearing. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this city is still alive, why so few people know its name, and what secrets are hidden inside its clay alleys. Showdown was built in the Hadramaut Valley, a city that reached its peak in the 16th century. Back then, Hadramaut was like a crossroads. From one side came the spices of India and the incense of Oman. From the other side came fabrics and jewels from Africa. Every caravan carried hundreds of camels, loaded with gold, spices, perfumes, and books. And it was this wealth that allowed the people of Showdown to build a city that shines like a jewel in the desert. The architects of Showdown were far ahead of their time. When they realized farmland was limited, they decided to build upward. The houses rose like towers, some reaching 8 stories high. Each floor had its own purpose: the bottom for animals and storage, the middle for family life, and the upper floors for guests. From the rooftops, you could see the entire valley. If enemies approached, the whole city was ready to defend itself. But there was another secret: the alleys. They were built deliberately narrow, so tight that 2 people could barely pass side by side. This design kept the burning desert sun out, while natural wind flowed through the passageways. The result? In 45-degree heat, the alleys of Showdown were cooler than many concrete homes today. One European traveler in 1839 described Showdown like this: "From afar, it looked like a city of legend. I thought the towers were carved from stone or marble, but when I entered, I discovered everything was made of clay. How could raw mud be so majestic and strong?" For that traveler, Showdown was like an ancient New York, a modern city, but in the heart of the desert. But life in Showdown was never easy. Floods repeatedly threatened the city. When heavy rains fell, parts of the walls collapsed. Yet the people of Showdown had an ancient tradition. Every year they would replaster their homes with a fresh coat of mud. It wasn't just repair, it was ritual, almost like celebrating a new birthday for each house. Wars also took their toll. Tribes attacked Showdown many times, but the height of the buildings and the maze-like alleys turned the city into a natural fortress. That's why Showdown survived for centuries. Showdown was more than a city. It was the economic heart of the region. Its merchants traded with India, Indonesia, East Africa, and even Egypt. Many wealthy Arab families who later became famous in the Gulf or Indonesia trace their roots back to these Yemeni cities. Some historians even say Showdown inspired the concept of vertical cities elsewhere, but Showdown was not alone. Yemen holds other cities, each with its own story. Take Zabid, for example, a city that was once the intellectual capital of the Islamic world. From the 9th to the 15th centuries, Zabid's schools and universities drew thousands of students from across the Muslim world. Law, mathematics, medicine, and philosophy were all taught here. Many great scholars studied for years in Zabid. Its libraries were filled with manuscripts, some of which survive today, though many were lost in wars. Now imagine this. In these same clay towers, life still goes on. Families live on different floors. Children play in the narrow alleys. Markets are still filled with spices, fabrics, and handmade crafts. And when the call to prayer rises, it echoes between the mud brick walls, carrying across the entire city. This mix of history and daily life has turned Showdown and Zabid into living museums. But not everything is romantic. Recent wars, lack of funds for restoration, and climate change are major threats to these cities. Floods in recent years destroyed parts of Showdown. Zabid has been placed on UNESCO's list of World Heritage in Danger. If this continues, parts of these treasures could vanish forever within just a few decades. You might think these are just bricks of mud. But the truth is, losing Shebam or Zabad means losing part of the world's architectural history. The very first idea of vertical living was born here. This was a place where science and trade flourished centuries before Europe's rise. So when a mud wall collapses, it's not just a house that disappears, it's a piece of humanity's collective memory. So remember this. 1. Shebam, the Manhattan of the desert, with its mud skyscrapers. 2. Zabid, the medieval capital of science. 3. And Yemen, the land of forgotten cities, each with a story to tell. These cities have resisted for centuries, against the desert, against war, against time. And today, we are witnesses that they still stand. If you enjoyed this journey into Yemen's forgotten cities, make sure to like this video and subscribe, because in the next episode, we'll explore a city built so high in the mountains it feels like it's floating on the clouds.